Hello everybody, Lawrence Fleming here. Well, we're still in a high watch time. So are we coming up on a special holiday? You know how I feel about holidays, but I'll bring them up anyway, because some do use those to trigger the rapture event. We have the Day of Atonement coming up, Yom Kippur. The reason it's important to the Jews is the one day during the year that they make sacrifices to God. The day basically started when Moses came down with the Ten Commandments and found that they were worshiping a golden calf they made while he was gone. I gotta look at it. I have a trail post here. I gotta figure out which way I'm going, but I'll look at that in a second. Anyhow, Moses gets mad, breaks the tablets, goes back up and pleads to God to save them, comes back down with a plan and 10 replacement tablets, and that's their Day of Atonement. So anyhow, it's on the, basically you have your day of, your Feast of Trumpets and their New Year, which they celebrate on the same day, which is another story. And then they have the 10 days from that is the Day of Atonement. They're supposed to be repentant. Go to anybody that they may have offended and apologize, do whatever it takes to be right. There are 3 books. One we would consider the Book of Life. There's a Book of Death, and there's an in-between. Now, none of the Jews are arrogant enough to put themselves in the Book of Life, so they put themselves in the in-between. If they don't put themselves in anything, they're in the Book of Death. Okay, Jewish customs. So, in any case, they don't really have any place to celebrate that, so they kind of pass that off to the individual rabbis, part of the oral law that they created after the temple was destroyed. And even when the temple was there, they didn't have the Ark of the Covenant, so it still was kind of adjusted anyway. Will we have the new Ark in the new temple, or the old Ark in the new temple? I don't know. I hope they have it someplace. I hope they found it and they just haven't released it. It should have the 10 Commandments in it. It should have some samples of manna. It's a big historical find. And it's strong enough to allow Israel to not be defeated, which is a good reason why I think they're going to find it. Okay, I have a pool trail to the swimming pool, the Liberty Bell pool. Hatchery ponds are straight ahead. I can hear people hiking. They're going to be here in a second. That's all right. I'm going to go this way, I think. It's pretty wooded through here. There's a creek in there running, so moisture's high. I think people are on the other trail, so I'm good here. But that doesn't mean I won't run into anybody. If they're just quietly walking, I'll film right past them, but if they're loud, I'll probably shut it off and restart it when I'm past them. Okay, so Day of Atonement. It's the thing that Jesus did away with. His blood became the sacrifice. The temple is not needed anymore because of him from Pentecost. But it's not needed from the moment he died. So as Christians, we know that it's not necessary to do what they're doing. But it's a high holy day. So let's see how many Jews in Israel follow their tradition anyway. To be repentant for 10 days and then to have a sacrifice to cover their sins, not to do away with them. Only Jesus can do away with them. But it'd be a time that you could talk to your Jewish friends, plant some seeds. 144,000 need someone to harvest. They're going to be planting seeds too, but there's not a whole lot of time, so you can't wait long. And then when the 144,000 are done, to save those that are left, because they won't want them around. Satan doesn't want to have them around at all. Okay, I hear some noisy people coming, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this here, and I'll see you on the other side of the trail. Okay, I'm back. I have to be careful filming people because I'm not getting waivers. And they could argue that I can't use the video. But if you can't recognize them, I can use the video. Okay. I guess I could show you the creek. Adding to the ambiance of a nice nature hike. This is the standard loop trail that goes around. Some people do the whole thing. I have. Some people only go part way. I don't know yet. I may try to get all the way up on top where the visitor center is because they have a beautiful view of the valley. I think it's been on some of my earlier time here, but I don't know. My knee is bothering me a bit today, so I may have to keep my short hikes going right now. I am here until the 7th. The holiday time that we're looking at, the 4th and the 5th, those would be the Day of Atonement. Evening of the 4th, evening of the 5th. I'm wondering why I've only got a place for that length. So what's going to happen during this first week? I'm anxious to find out. I'm curious. The trail here is a little bit rough to keep up with. Hike across that. It's not undoable. It doesn't. People do it all the time. I have to watch with my knee. I didn't bring my hiking poles, which help to steady me when I'm walking through this so that I don't hurt my knee. I didn't wear them on my last hike either, and that's where I turned my knee a little bit. Okay, We got the Day of Atonement coming up, the sacrificial time, and they've got other times that they sacrifice. And we covered some of that in the last video. We don't have to do any of those animal sacrifices, although I'm more than happy to burn a cow over a flame. Nice thick steak. But right now we're supposed to be asking for forgiveness daily. We're supposed to be asking for God's protection daily. And frankly, anytime you're about to walk into a situation that you think you want to be near God, make that connection. Make sure you're repentant, ask for forgiveness, and then ask for protection. The Lord's Prayer says protect us from evil, typically, but the actual wording is from the evil one, which is where all evil originates anyway. So it's the same thing. No evil comes from God. When we talk about the wrath of God, He's not issuing the wrath. He's not creating the wrath. He's merely turning the control over to the evil one to issue it. Because if you're not protected by God through Jesus, the evil one can get to you. I am not going to be able to do much more of this hike. So I think I'm going to turn around and go back. There's always a day like this. Most of the time I can get around with my knee. It doesn't hurt. But if I do twist it wrong, then it hurts until it stops. And it won't stop until I get off of it. So I'll go ahead and head back. The only difference in where I'm at now and where my tent is my tent's on level ground, a prepared campsite. I've got a picnic table, fire ring, water and power, all this supplied by the state park system of Georgia. I'm in FDR State Park, but I'm not going to tell you where. They've got a number of campsites. And yes, you can run the trails. I wish I could do that now. Can't anymore. Okay, FDR State Park, named after Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And we're real close to the little White House down here, the hot springs where he used to go to help try to treat his polio. They didn't know what it was. We have a way to medically treat polio now. We can prevent it. Back then they didn't know. They just thought it was a circulation problem and they could treat it with hot springs. It may have helped him feel better, but they weren't going to fix it. And eventually he dies from it. And we lose a president now. It's never good to lose a president. He meant well in a lot of the things that he did, but some of the stuff was leading to the problems that we have today. Okay, now I got to go back and go across this creek. Standing on rocks in a creek is sometimes dangerous. You don't know if there's moss on them, so always test them before you put your full weight down. Those were clean, so we're okay. If you hit one with moss, you're going to go flying. That might lead to an injury. My knee problem is just from wearing out. I don't have cartilage in it. I've always been very active. And with no cartilage, the bone's wearing out. And I do exercises to help strengthen the muscles, but it doesn't fix the fact that there's something missing. I've had my right knee replaced, at least partial knee. The part that was missing the cartilage, the inside part. And now it's perfectly fine. I need to get my left knee done. But the government right now is not in a mood for helping. Medical care for military is adequate most of the time, inadequate the rest of the time. If I do have to go to get medical care, the Atlanta VA hospital is probably the best in the country because the doctors that are there come over from Emory Hospital, which is a training hospital, and they're very good. The problem is you got to get past the bureaucracy. Okay, got another creek to cross. Okay. I'm not too far. My last video was pretty long because I took you on more of my hike than I had planned, but I was just in the mood for talking. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll do some studies on the Day of Atonement. It's a high watch for rapture. Not that the Bible says it's going to happen on a high watch rapture day. I'm just picking times that I think Satan would love to attack. If he comes in person, there's a rapture. If he sends a surrogate, there's no rapture. But whatever it is, it's not very far away. And we don't, if we miss these high holidays, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be raptured soon. Watch where I'm stepping. I can't watch my phone and watch the trail too. That's why I sometimes wander off camera, because I'm watching my trail. So if we miss these high watch periods, these high holidays, and are not raptured, don't worry. Like I keep saying, the chess pieces are almost to a point where somebody's going to have to attack. If you've ever played and you know that if you attack a piece, you're going to lose a piece, you sometimes hold off unless it's part of your plan. But we're to that point. If somebody starts something, it's going to escalate into something major. There's the thought that we might see nukes come out of this. Okay. Be safe. Keep watching. If we're not raptured soon, it can happen any day. There's no specific day that we're looking for. It could happen on November 15th. What's on November 15th? I have no idea. It's not important. It could happen on any day. It could happen on Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's. Any day that there's a lot of people distracted. Therefore, these high holy days, people are going to be distracted. So keep oil in your lamps. Keep looking. Remember, the 10 virgins that were waiting, only 5 of them made it. The other half didn't prepare. Okay, I'm back to my trail sign, so I know where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and cut you off here, and we'll do our study. I must be saying something right, because I'm getting more and more people attacking. I determined a long time ago that the more people attack, say bad things, the better I must be doing, because Satan's taking time out of his day to focus on getting somebody to attack me. So that's good. He can't hurt me. I make sure I stay very close to Jesus during these times. See you in a bit. Okay, good morning, folks. I'm doing my Bible study the day after I recorded the first part. And it was getting a little bit noisy in camp. It was Saturday. Today is Sunday. I'm going to miss going to church today because I'm not in the area. It's a good hour and a half away. And I can't afford the gas to do that. So what we're going to do, and I've got a bit of a breeze this morning coming up. One thing I've noticed about here versus my other campsites is I tend to get more wind at this campsite. Not sure why. I mean, it could be the season. I'm watching a bunch of yellow leaves fall as the wind's shaking the trees. Okay, so we're going to talk about Yom Kippur. I've already done some of this because I have my verses marked from when I did it before. But I'm just going to cover this real quick, and then I'm going to pose a question. So let's take a look at Leviticus 16:29. There shall be a statute forever for you. In the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict your souls, and you will do no work at all, whether a native or your own of your own country, or a stranger who dwells among you. For on that day the priest shall make atonement for you, to cleanse you, that you may be clean from all your sins before the Lord. It is a Sabbath of solemn rest for you, and you shall afflict your souls. It shall be a statute forever. And the priest who is anointed and consecrated to minister as a priest in his father's place shall make atonement, put on the linens of holy garments, and shall make atonement for the holy sanctuary. So, if we look at the choices that we have here, Rosh Hashanah is the happiest day of the year, and Yom Kippur is the solemnest day of the year. So they're back-to-back the two holiest days of the year. And it would seem like a good time for a rapture, but you know how I feel about that. Satan's got to figure that he's got everything ready to go. And if we're still here, apparently he doesn't. They can start working on the temple anytime, and I think that's what he's got a plan around. If these red heifers are really what they are looking for and are sacrificed soon, then we will see some movement. Okay, I'm going to turn now to Leviticus 23:27. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying to the children of Israel, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall have Sabbath rest, a memorial for the blowing of the trumpets. And then we go on to 29. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, on the 10th day of the 7th month shall be a day of atonement. So we're getting a recap now in this section of Leviticus of what we just read. So he states it twice. He basically covers what it's for and then goes back and tells you what you're supposed to do on that day to make sure that everybody got it right. Okay, so my question for you is, why was Jesus sacrificed on Passover versus the Day of Atonement? I have the answer, but what do you think? All right, I'll keep you in suspense just a second longer. They both were sacrifices. They both were important sacrifices. Yom Kippur is a covering of sin. And like Passover, it completely bypasses. With Jesus' sacrifice, we don't even, if you confess your sin to him, it's gone. It will never be discussed. You don't have to cover for it. It's not there. It's gone. Eliminated. Thrown into the deepest sea. So Jesus basically was sacrificed on Passover because it's permanent. It doesn't have to be done every year. Now, we're recommended versus the Lord's Prayer to ask for forgiveness every day because we're still sinners. We will be until we're in our new bodies standing with Jesus, but we still got to sacrifice daily by asking for a repentance daily, just to cover the 500,000 or so sins that we've done since the day before. We don't know every time we sin. I'm not talking about the big sins. Those you're pretty much going to be aware of. You're pretty much going to know when you do a big sin. It's the little sins. And a little sin is nothing more than not talking to somebody about Jesus that we should have, that God put in our path. It could be not praying enough, not coming to God first before we do something. Big sins and little sins, they're all there. Whatever we're going to do, if we're not doing everything for God, then we're sinning. And that's our nature. So we need to pray for everybody. And that's also a sin if you don't pray for somebody and you were told to. See, there's no way we can make it without Jesus. It's impossible to do all the things that we need to do. The years of the law proved that if you could get to heaven by following the law, Jesus could have stayed in heaven. But he had to come down here because we couldn't. All right. That's all I've got for today. I'm trying to get my videos back to a reasonable size. It's taking an awful long time to upload. And even though I have good internet here, it still takes up time. And when it takes up time, I can't deal with anything else on my phone. So I'm going to get going. Oh, I've noticed that my hair is just not looking good lately. The person who cut my hair the last time didn't know how to cut hair. If you don't layer my hair, it looks bad. So I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm just going to buzz it off and let it start over, or let it grow out a little bit longer so I can trim it some more. Right now, if I tried to trim it, there would be a very, very short haircut. So you may see me change again. I do this all the time. All right. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.